You want to take me to a kung fu movie?
3 kung fu movies.
What up, fellow kung fu movie and Asian cinema fans? This is Gary Williams, the 12th Venom, and I'm proud to come to you today as part of a group of individuals that they got together and bonded over a mutual love of HK cinema in particular, the Asian Cinema Circle, a group of fellow YouTubers. You saw some of you saw their logos in the intro. And some of them have some great content. I will link to their respective channels in the description of this video. But we are the Asian Cinema Circle, and I can't remember which member, but one member put forth a fun project, and that's to come up with our top 5 favorite fight scenes. Now, before I go any further and get into the video, I just want to tell you a few things how I came up with these and my thought pattern, and I'm sure many other members of the Asian Cinema Circle had this thought pattern. My top 5 favorite fight scenes can change from hour to hour, minute to minute, because there's so much great action cinema from Hong Kong, kung fu cinema, wuxia cinema, etc. And to just say that these are the be all end all of my top 5 would be lying. And when I discover films, even from the golden era, as I like to call it, that I have never seen, and I'm like, wow, that fight scene was one of the best, then of course this list would change. So I just want to preface that with that thought, and that tomorrow you could ask me, and all of these may still be in there, or none of them will be in there. So it's it's just my thought pattern of some of my 5 favorite fight scenes. So I'm going to get into the video. I'm going to link to the other members of the Asian Cinema Circle, their channels, so you can go see their top 5, and I'm very anxious and interested to see that, because I want to see who's going to have something that's on no one's list, who's going to have crossover or something. So please leave some comments, respectful comments, in the comments about your top 5. It doesn't have to be the same as mine. Your top 5. What do you think? Who you think should be in your top 5? I mean, so without further ado, let's get into Gary Williams and his picks of the 5 favorites. I won't say top 5. I'll say 5 favorites. Thank you guys again. Like and subscribe so you can get more content. Like and subscribe to all the members of the Asian Cinema Circle. They have some great unboxing videos, some great commentaries. I can't laud them enough for the phenomenal work that they do in promoting this genre, the greatest film genre of all time, in my opinion. So, without further ado, I'm going to get into my 5, and this is Gary Williams, aka the 12th Venom of Film Fan Dojo, and I hope you enjoy this video. Oh, and before I forget, I'm not including all the clips, the full clips, because my channel will probably be blocked and taken down. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to, however, include some clips and still photos of some of the fight scenes for illustrative purposes, as I explain why I like this particular fight scene. So again, please feel free to write down the names or jot down the names and of these fight scenes if you haven't seen them, or you just want to revisit them to see what you think of the whole scene. Again, these are going to be clips and parts of scenes to include here. So, without further ado, let's get into our 5 favorites. Again, this is the 12th Venom Gary Williams coming to you from FanDojo.com. And as part of the Asian Cinema Circle, these are going to be my top 5 um, fight scenes. Again, that's the topic of the title of the video, but we could say that these are 5 of my favorite fight scenes. And, I hope you enjoy them as much as I enjoy them. I hope you enjoy this video as much as I enjoy putting it together. I mean, I really had to rack my brain, and what I tried to do, I tried to not include, purposefully not include some fight scenes that I think are magnificent, but are always included in everybody's top 5, top 3, or top 10. So my exclusion of certain fight scenes does not mean that I don't love them. It means that I just tried to do something a little bit differently. As everyone knows, I'm king of the old school. So most of mine, all of mine, are going to come from the old school because I think that best exemplifies the Kung Fu era. And I broke down mine based on some choreographers and action directors I like, such as Lau Kar Leung, Lu Feng, Chiang Shing, and Philip Kwok of the Venom Mob. The Yun clan, Yun Wu Ping and his brothers, who did some excellent work and still does. But I prefer his older stuff, the Yun clan. So the Yun clan. Corey Yun Kwai, one of the, oh man, what can you say about Corey Yun Kwai that many other people with better vocabulary than I have said? But Corey Yun Kwai. And of course, the man, Daiga, the legendary Sammo Hung. And now my honorable mention goes to Gan Ming, aka Tommy Lee. As we see from this fight scene, in Hot, Cool, and the Vicious, of course, he's the action director and part of one of the performers of this fight scene, that I think Tommy Lee gets his credit, but I think he deserves much more credit. And to me, he's one of the best at putting on these 2-on-1 fight scenes. And I love the movies that he's a part of, at least some of them, when they have the team-up scenes, such as this in Hot, Cool, and Vicious. And we got my main man, Don Wang Dao, their king of the Southern Fist, as I call him. And we see these movements here. And one thing I like about Gan Ming's fight scenes is everything has a rhyme and a reason. And he makes his kung fu look really elegant yet tough at the same time. So that's my honorable mention, is Gan Ming. Now let's get into the crux of the matter, the meat of it all. The top 5. Number 5. Number 5 is Corey Yun Kwai versus Jack Long from the 7 Grandmasters. Action director Corey Yun Kwai. And this fight scene, oh man, when I first saw this fight scene back in the early 80s on Charlie Rum's Martial Arts Theater in Detroit, Michigan, I was taken aback by the sheer intensity of this fight scene, as we see a still photo of the performer in the fight scene and the action choreographer Corey Yun Kwai. As we know, Corey Yun was a member of the Seven Little Fortunes, along with, of course, Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, Yun Bu, Yun Hua, and a lot of other people came out of Master Yun's Peking Opera Academy. And that's one thing I really enjoy about a lot of Corey Yun's earlier work and some of his later work too. When he gets another performer of Peking Opera, another master of Peking Opera, as we see with this duel he has here with weapons with Jack Long, you get some of the best kung fu on the screen, which seems almost like you wouldn't, but you do, because their level of timing, precision, and form is great from those years of that opera training. As you can see, the great acrobatics here. And one thing I like about this fight scene is how they seamlessly transition from spear versus empty hands to spear versus weapon. As we can see Jack Long with that excellent spear work and Corey Yun Kwai with the excellent acrobatics. One thing I like about the acrobatics in many of Corey Yun's fight scenes is, again, I'm going to say this a lot, they have rhyme and reason. Those flips and things are not just done because it looks pretty. They factor into the fight, which factors into the greater story. And if you've seen Seven Grandmasters, you know what that greater story is. Another Joseph Kuo classic there. As you can see, the seamless transition from the trap of the double hook swords to the empty hands. And we see that Jack Long with that trademark smile, Corey Yun Kwai bringing out the double butterfly knives here. And you can see the seamless, the dodging. I mean, every one of these movements has a purpose in the fight scene. The blocks, the dodging, the hand techniques, the Phoenix eye fist we just saw there, the palm strikes. One of the best fight scenes ever. And I also want to mention that these are in no particular order. It's not like I believe this is number 5 because it's in lesser quality to the next 4. It's just this is the order I put them in. I wanted to preface that in the earlier intro. But look at that. And you see the flip on. And, you know, now we're going to go to number 4. Number 4. And again, no particular order. It's just this is the order that kind of popped into my head when I was thinking about this video. Number 4 is Lu Feng versus Philip Kwok and Chiang Shing from the Magnificent Ruffians. And of course, the action directors in this are Lu Feng, Philip Kwok, and of course Chiang Shing, the Venom Mob here, with one of my favorite movies of all time, The Magnificent Ruffians. And we see that horse cutter type weapon against now the double broadswords from Chiang Shing. And of course, watching these gentlemen perform is poetry in motion each and every time. Particularly these 3 have an end fight or fight in a movie. As you can see, that great horse cutter work, and I know I'm getting the name of the weapon wrong, so forgive me. The great, I think it's I want to call it a horse cutter, but I think it's something else. But anyway, as you can see, he seamlessly transitions from fighting Chiang Shing with the double swords to Philip Kwok with the staff. And again, just like Corey Yun Kwai, no wasted motion. And of course, you got to give great credit to the camera work, which is excellent. As you can see, a flip for a reason, dodging. And I love when these 3 have a two-on-one fight scene. I don't think they can be matched in this, especially with all these weapons. Look at all these motions, these sophisticated small motions. And it's the small motions in this fight scene that do it for me. The spinning, trying to disarm the blade, the jumping through with the double sword chop, and Lu Feng's character just handling it with almost no problem. This duel to me is only equal in sheer sweetness, I can't think of another word, than their duel in Flag of Iron, which of course I didn't want to include simply because it's going to be on a lot of people's list. But Magnificent Ruffians, this fight scene, just look at these movements here. And I can only imagine, I would love to interview Philip Kwok or Lu Feng and take how many takes this took, how long, because this is just some excellent work. And again, all 3 with Peking opera backgrounds from Taiwan. And this is my number 4, one of the greatest fight scenes I think ever filmed, particularly because it's with weapons and not weapons that are easy to handle. As you can see, Lu Feng goes from using the blade to the handle. So that was number 4. Number 3 coming up. Lau Kar-leung versus Gordon Liu from Challenge of the Masters. And of course, the action director being Lau Kar-leung. Again, I want to say something about Challenge of the Masters. It was one of the first Lau Kar Lung movies that I saw back in the day. And it always holds a special place in my heart because I really truly like the story. And this fight scene really emphasizes and drive home the story and some of the moral Wu Dai or martial virtue themes wrought throughout Lau Kar Lung's movies. And that has to be one of the best lines there ever was. But as you can see, they went from uh, weapons to empty hands, and I really like this fight scene because the interplay of the bamboo forest. It really, like the kick with his steel boots, steel toe boots, really emphasize this mise en scène here with the whole bamboo forest as it factors into this fight and speaks to just the creativity and the kung fu acumen and genius of Grandmaster Lau Kar Lung. As we can see, the bamboo is actually used to pretty much stop this fight. And this is one of the reasons that this fight scene has always been one of my favorites. And it gives us an opportunity so that Wong Fei Hung can remember the words of his teacher, Lua Tai, in this movie about showing mercy to the enemy. And it might not be a long fight scene, super sophisticated with a lot of flips and complex acrobatics, but it had the Hungar element, of course, and it was one of my favorites. Number 2 coming up here. Top 2, well, I can't say that. This is in the order that they kind of got placed in my mind. So it's not necessarily top 2, but we're down to our last 2. And we have Su Ming versus Yun Shu Yi from the Buddhist Fist, and the action director, of course, the Yun's clan. When I first saw this movie, I got it from a place called Thomas Video in Clawson, Michigan. When I first saw the Buddhist Fist movie, my mind was blown because, as my buddies from Europe say, the shapes really got to me in this film. Siu Ming was off the chain in this movie. It's like he was the shape king in this movie. Yoon Shun Yi also, but it was just Sui Su Ming's performance, like in this sequence that we just saw. Just the form in this movie is just excellent against, again, I'm sorry, opera trained performers, and we know that Siu Si Ming is a mantis practitioner as well. But look at just the form that they're doing, and again, one thing that stands out to me in this fight scene is that they doing good form, but they still look like they're fighting. It's just in a kung fu way, very artistic. Would again, as Tribe Called Quest would say, styles upon styles, and we get the acrobatics. But again, as I've said throughout this whole thing, acrobatics in a way that enhances the fight scene as well as adding that aesthetic to it. Look at these hand motions, claws, using the feet to block the claws, the rolling, the Buddhist palm and the Buddhist fist, and those Peking opera acrobatics were used in a way that don't distract from the other more simple movements. Great work by the Yoon's clan, and this is the Yoon's clan style that I prefer. And here we are. We're down to the final one. Not that it's number 1, but again, in my thought pattern, the final fight scene that just blew my mind and made me really love to be part of Kung Fu movie fandom. And it is Sammo Hung versus Yun Mui and Sammo Hung versus Tai Po from Encounter of the Spooky Kind. Sammo being the big fella that he is, and I'm a big fella, so Sammo always has my heart. But when I first saw this in the way that he was moving using that monkey style, as we're going to see here against the ring, I call him the ring man, and they're both under the possession of those different Taoist priests. But look at Sammo's list and his skill his acrobatic skill, how light he moves for such a big guy. And then we see him using that spear against Tai Po's straight sword. Tai Po not getting the credit that he deserves amongst the Hong Kong stuntmen, great guy. But look at that. And then Samo's acting, and his acting is the little Wushu girl, as I like to call her. So again, 12th Venom, Gary Williams coming to you. And this is the top 5 for the Asian Cinema Circle. Hit that like and subscribe button so that you can be kept abreast of all that's going on. And we're going to be out. Thank you guys for tuning in. Peace.
You wanna take me to a kung fu movie?
3 Kung Fu movies.